Jodhpur.
Kadri, yeah, I know. He's my batchmate actually.
Oh, sir. Okay. So your meeting is also from live on YouTube channel also.
Hmm?
We also broadcasting live on YouTube channel.
Okay. Mhm. How many participants joined as of now? 15. So wait, at what time will start, Manish?
Visible, sir.
It is visible, Manish?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm audible also.
Yes, sir.
Good.
Shaduna by availability, yes. Good afternoon, Dr. Roman.
Sir, we started from 5.
So, friends, welcome to all. Dr. Prakash, sir, are you there?
गेलो साबण निर्माणच लागलं ना आता पुढच्या महिन्यापर्यंत अजून
Dr.
जाईल
Kadam, please,
एक पण
please
वर्षभर गेलं
mute yourself.
त्यातलं बी मामींनी चांगलं 5-6
Prashant
महिने
Ramdas Kadam, sir, please mute yourself. So, friends, very good evening to all of you. Today we have the Dr. Bukya Prakash with us, who is the Principal Scientist Animal Nutrition at Directorate of Poultry Research, Hyderabad, Telangana. Sir have joined the ARS service in 2003 and continuously worked on the various aspect of animal nutrition, especially he worked in animal NRC on Mithun as well as IBRI, and now from last 15 years he is there at the Directorate of Poultry Research. And he has over 50 research papers, around 500 citations, and most probably his research are very popular amongst the stakeholders and having 11,000 reads on the research gates. And we often heard him on the poultry nutrition, but for the benefit of all of you, I am just highlighting that sir has very illustrious things on the feed formulation, feed evolution, gut health, intestinal microbes, which is, we can say the microbial induced our gut health, microbiota, feed additives, nutrient digestibility, amino acid and mineral nutrition, poultry nutrition, antibiotic feed, poultry, antibiotic free poultry production, which is very much required in the present context. And he has over 23 years of research experience. So, sir led several ICR and DST funded research projects on these aspects. And sir, we are looking forward for your illustrious talks on maize in poultry feed, as maize is being consumed, significantly, still around 50% or plus in the poultry feed. We are also having with us our second lecture is from Rahul Khatriji from Poultry Federation of India. So today we can say Makka or Murgi. Okay,
Yeah.
so we are just dedicating these two sessions on this. So now, sir, floor is yours for next 40 minutes, and then we will have some discussions followed by. So I request you to please make your presentation.
Yeah. Thank you, SL Georgie. Thank you so much for your kind words and introducing me to this all trainees. And thank you so much for your introduction and everything. We'll straight away we'll go for the presentation now, and we'll discuss later. Is it visible? Is it visible?
Not yet, sir. Now visible, sir.
Now it is visible?
Yes, sir.
In full slide it is visible, I think, na?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So good evening, everybody, and thank you, SL Georgie, for giving me this opportunity. Actually, initially I thought of say no, but when I saw that so many trainees, and then it attracted me that I will go ahead with this. Then I thought of this topic, maize in poultry feed, nutrition and prospectus and demand. So as it is, maize is a very important component in making the poultry diet, and the poultry is it was merely backyard venture in time immemorial. Now it is very vibrant and means dynamic poultry industry now. So it contributes a lot to our GDP. I will take you through few slides. You will understand what is the poultry industry and what is the maize requirement, what is the future prospectus of maize, and what is the nutrition of the maize, and how it is really contributing to the well-being of the poultry industry. So I will just overview of the animal husbandry and the poultry. We stand number 1 in milk production with 240 million metric ton, and number 2 in egg production with 149 billion of eggs we produce annually. And we stand 5th in chicken meat production after USA, China, and Brazil and UK. And we stand in 8th position total meat production with 10.36 million metric ton. So as I told you, where it is a few decades back, it is just a backyard venture. Bird used to be reared by local people in their backyard. Now it is become a vibrant poultry industry, very dynamic. So it contributes around 1.5 lakh crore annually to our GDP. And as I was telling, it produces around 149 billions of eggs, and every year we house around 35 crores of layers in our country, and we also house around 440 crores of broiler in our nation, and we also house and produce for broiler parents 3.3 crores of broiler parents we house. So why, and around 25 million people are depending on directly or indirectly on this poultry industry, and they are engaged, and that is means it is employment for them, and it is contributing to the nutrition of the nation also. So broiler chicken meat, we are producing 5.18 million metric ton. And the availability right now that we have is 3.77 kgs of meat per year we are consuming, but the requirement is around 12 kg per year. So 11.8 kg means 12 kg per year as per the Indian Council of Medical Research requirement. Similarly, the egg production, that 149 billions of eggs that we are producing, with that production of eggs, availability is per person 106 eggs per person per year we are consuming, but the requirement is, as per the Indian Council of Medical Research, 180 eggs per person per year has to consume. So there is a great scope for increase in the poultry production. We are just halfway to meet the prescribed demand. So it is, if you see this one, the just 40 gram chick, when it is hatched from the egg, it is just weighs around 42, 43 grams of chick. In 32 days, it is attaining 2 kgs of body weight. So it is around 60 to 65 gram per day of weight gain it is attaining, and it is reaching 2 kg in 32 days. Similarly, just weighing 1.3 kg of bird, in 52 weeks, it is producing 18 kgs of eggs. So in a year, 310 to 330 eggs per year is produced. So how it is possible? Actually, what is the key actually? It is a balanced diet. The poultry, the balanced diet, the poultry is fed well balanced diet that human being is not fed. Their energy is balanced, their protein is balanced, their all amino acids and calcium, whatever the minerals, all nutrients are balanced to attain the in fact, we are not feeding ourselves as balanced diet is fed to the poultry to harvest the production potential of the poultry. And second most thing is it is the genetic potential it has. It has the genetic potential to produce the 330 eggs per year, and it has the genetic potential to attain the body weight at 32 days in of 2 kg. So the genetic potential and balanced diet has made it is the key for the increase in the size of the production. So if you look at the feed and maize and a million metric ton, so around there is in 2017 46% of maize is used for the making of poultry diet. In 2020 52% of the maize of total production. In 2023 49% of the maize is used for the making the poultry diet. And 2025 51% of the total maize is used of total production. So it is anticipated in 2030 that maize is required 29 million metric ton and for making the 48 million metric ton of feed. So recently we have prepared the 2047 document where that we have written some anticipated if the poultry industry grow with the same pace over the period till 2047, the maize total feed requirement would be around 75 million metric ton. And maize requirement would be around 85 to 90 million metric ton of maize is required for making the 175 million metric ton of feed in 2047. So it is already said, but I will again, in 2025, total maize production is 43 million metric ton. For making the 36 million metric ton of poultry feed, 22 million metric ton of maize is being used. In 2047, say 175 million metric ton of feed is required if the poultry industry grow with the same pace as it is growing over the period, and 90 million metric ton of maize is required. How much we need to produce to meet all the demand that we have to ascertain? Then this is the modern feed mill for various sectors. This layer and broiler they use for making the feed. The conventional poultry diet is having the 55 to 65% is maize. Then 20 to 30% is a soybean meal. Then mineral feed additives and supplements 10 to 15%. So the major chunk is just 55 to 65% is the maize. Maize is the major component in the poultry diet. Then feeding poultry for mainly these nutrients. Feeding poultry for energy, protein consists of amino acids, macrominerals, microminerals, vitamins, and feed additives. If you see the relative cost of the nutrient of percentage of the diet, then each nutrient, the energy is 55 to 60%, 65% of the diet is spent for the energy. And the protein is 20 to 35% of the diet. Then calcium and phosphorus is 8 to 10, and other minerals and vitamin 3 to 7. So if you see the percentage of spending is also very high for purchasing the energy only. Energy is the source of maize. Sorry. So maize is the always the first choice as far as the all means the cereal is concerned in the for the feeding of the poultry, because these are the some reasons very high in the metabolizable energy, around 3400 kilocalories per kg maize, and it is a better digestible, and it is a palatable because of fat and high in starch also. This is a nitrogen free extract and excellent source of linoleic acid and a xanthophyll and a carotenoids. These are all the good qualities maize has. Because of this one, the maize is preferred energy source for the making the poultry diet. There are, when we speak some advantages, we should also speak some limitations. So limitations with maize is it is prone to mycotoxins. So it is just 20 ppb of aflatoxin is permissible for the poultry diet. So when it is infested with these things, it goes beyond that one. So that way, if it has to be discarded, we cannot go forward for feeding of the infested maize. And main thing is deficient. Maize is deficient in methionine, lysine, and tryptophan. And some total non-starch polysaccharides is very high, like cellulose and arabinoxylan. These arabinoxylan and beta-glucan, these are soluble NSPs. These are detrimental. Cellulose won't harm much, but arabinoxylan harms very, it creates the wet litter system in the poultry management. So a farmer generally to mitigate these deleterious effects, farmers use xylanase and cellulose enzymes so that it will be neutralized. And some other infestation is Aspergillus parasiticus, Gibberella, and some damaged grain and Fusarium. These are all things has to be taken care when the maize grain is pushed to the poultry feed. So if you see the incidence of aflatoxin of various cereal grains, like maize, ragi, sorghum, bajra, DL, rice bran, korra, and oats, see the incidence is very high in maize. If you see then other grains are very less infested compared to the maize. So the poultry, when making the poultry diet, maize is really the preferred choice for making the poultry diet. But in case of maize shortage and maize, the price rockets higher price, then in case that one, the farmer goes for the other ingredients, ragi, korra, bajra, sorghum, and dalsin. And this becomes the higher, now this becomes a higher price because of the premium food nowadays they become now. So the farmers also not able to use this one for the for poultry feed. And the limitation of other energy sources are very high actually. It's very less available. The korra, these ragi, oats, and all these are very less available compared to maize. And the prices are very high compared to as they become the human choice for the consumption and all. Variability in nutrient availability and anti-nutritional factor like sorghum has higher tannins and needs supplemental oil and amino acids. Then seasonal availability and lack of xanthophyll. If these millets and all these things, they lack the xanthophyll. That is why the pale yolk color appears in the eggs. And less linoleic acid. And less linoleic acid means reduce the egg size. It is unpreferred to the consumer again. Then higher NSPs. So these are all anti-nutritional factor and some other attributes. It will not going smooth way for making the poultry diet. So as I am telling that pigmentation of yolk is always always quality trait. It is considered. Deep orange color is preferred actually. If you are feeding maize with good quality maize, the deep orange color will come. Deep intense yellow color will come. And if you are feeding and replacing maize with all all maize with cereal and all these things, then the pale yolk will come. So this pale yolk egg is less preferred by the consumer, and in that way the farmer loses a lot of money. So the plant breeder, if at all the new maize has to come in the market for feeding of the poultry industry, I would suggest that it should have the higher energy. Vegetable, it should have the higher energy, because lot of broiler farmer, they use vegetable oil for increasing the energy. Suppose making 30 to 100 kilocalorie of that kilocalorie metabolizable energy kilocalorie of the diet, it is impossible for using only maize. You cannot make the diet, balanced diet, and you have to use oil to increase the energy. So if any the thing to be done newer maize for making the poultry industry to feed, then higher oil in the maize is preferred. And again, a lot of farmer, they use synthetic amino acids, methionine and lysine. So higher methionine and lysine maize is always welcomed by the poultry industry. And again, the phytic acid in the maize is detrimental in utilization of the phosphorus in the poultry. So low phytate maize is preferred, and a lot of farmer, to mitigate the effect, adverse effect of the phytic acid, they use phytase enzyme, and a lot of foreign exchange is going in this way. So and again, the larger grain, it's less than 350 count per 100 gram maize is preferred for the poultry. And maize, if at all it is coming higher with zinc and iron and selenium and vitamin E, would be really of very huge demand for the poultry industry to come. So recently work at ICAR-DPR Hyderabad. I am there in CRP biofortified maize. So we have conducted some trials, and I will just tell the progress. The broiler chicken fed QPM APQH9 that showed improved performance. Broiler means body weight gain and FCR in commercial broiler. The low phytate maize FLPH24 improved the performance and bone breaking strength in Gramapriya birds, that is ICAR-DPR developed bird. Feeding QPM hybrid VLQPMH59 with reduced levels of protein and lysine maintained the body weight gain and FCR in commercial broiler birds. And feeding biofortified Pro-A HQPM 5 maize has improved the meat quality, skin pigmentation, mineralization of the bone, and stability of meat during the storage. So this is the typical broiler farm, commercial broiler farm. This is the typical commercial layer farm. Thank you. Manish?
Yes, sir.
I am done with.
Okay.
Please will interact now. Anything?
Anyone question? Sir, there is a question in chat box. Does maize color and kernel size matter in poultry feed?
Yes, yes. If maize color is not means yellow maize is preferred. If white maize is fed, then that again the pale yellow color will appear. So the matter, see, the size of maize and the color of maize is also matters.
Anyone have? Sir, one more questions from Jaina Kemparuju. Is there any preference of grain type like flint and dent type?
Flint and dent type क्या होता है?
So, flint and dent type कौन जो है ना? हमारा टाइप का है ग्रेन का.
डेंटिंग वाला.
Yes.
सर डेंट टाइप जो कॉर्न होती है, जो ऊपर थोड़ा सा उसके जो प्रोक्सिमल एंड पे डेंट पड़ा होता है, ठीक है ना? तो इसमें डेंट फ्लिंट का ज्यादा अंतर नहीं है वैसे. देर इज नो सच डिफरेंस फॉर पोल्ट्री फीड whether they like dent or flint. But certainly our flint is also working very fine. So in our country we are having around 50 to 60% production is flint or semi-flint, and dent to semi-dent is 30 to 40%. So poultry industry is consuming both of these, but the kernel weight is determining it. I think Rahul Khatriji will also highlight, and sir you can also highlight. So 100 kernel weight is required as a good parameter. It should be well dried with no aflatoxin contamination. So these are the key requirements. Sir can further highlight, sir. Okay, sir.
Regarding this aflatoxin,
Not aflatoxin, sir, regarding requirement of corn quality grades and acceptance amongst the poultry farmers, what kind of the maize they prefer.
yeah, maize requirement is actually the maize should have less aflatoxin contamination, and with the yellow maize is preferred, and with the larger grain size is preferred, and damaged maize is unpreferred. So these are the some few qualities, and it should have the more energy content, like more than 3,400 kilocalories of energy content maize is preferred. So these are all the things. Less NSP maize and higher methionine lysine maize. These things they farmers prefer for making the poultry diet.
Any other questions from any of the participant? Okay, if we don't have any questions, sir, thank you so much for your very illustrious talks, very brief, crisp, and very thought-provoking talks. So our participants have enjoyed a lot, and we have also benefited a lot from your talk, sir. Thank you so much for sparing your valuable time.
Thank you.
Though it is your area of research, certainly for the maize training at least. So we are grateful to you. Thank you so much. Now we can, sir, you can unshare your slides.
Thank you. Thank
We'll
you so
be
much.
inviting our next presentation. Next presentation is from Rahul Khatriji. Sri Rahul Khatriji is the works for the Poultry Federation of India, and he's the currently a treasurer, and he's a one of the key person for joining across the poultry sector's value chain. And his leadership in the Poultry Federation of India promotes the sustainable growth for poultry sector in the country, and promotion of the collaboration amongst poultry farmers, feed manufacturers, processors, and allied industries. So they are covering whole value chain in that perspective, and they have active participation in national, international poultry event, and now they started, convening an international level of the poultry events. And first they have done this year, and that was very great event. So it brings all the various poultry stakeholders at one platform. So currently he served as the treasurer for the Poultry Federation of India, and he was elected the position during the 35th PFI annual general meeting in 2024. So Rahulji, now floor is yours. You can share your thoughts, and we are thankful for accepting our invitation. Now you can share your presentation, and you can make your presentation before the audience. So we are having very mix of audience from the industry, researchers, and policy makers from this government also. So from Minister of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare and all other industry also, few participants are there. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Jad, for the invitation of having a very varied audience, people from academia, people from policy making, people from the industry, and having this opportunity to address everyone. So basically, what I have prepared is, uh, Manish, I have shared my presentation with you.
Yes, yes.
Can you please, because I have some privacy settings on my MacBook, so it won't allow me to. Yeah. So, as we already have as I was preceded by a very well-acquainted speaker, Dr. Saab has great in-depth expertise on poultry nutrition, maize, and everything. I specifically chose the subject on maize grain quality, the sowing and cultivation practices. How can that be improved? How can we use AI and ML, artificial intelligence and machine learning? How can we use satellite imagery for betterment of sowing, betterment of cultivation, better forecasting, and the future prospects here? Uh, Manish, I think I'll just try because I'll need to navigate through the slide myself. Okay, all right, thank you. So the agenda, as I just spoke, initially we would be speaking about the maize industry and the market dynamics. Which all industries require maize? What is the demand? How is it growing? How will it grow? And how has it grown in past 5, 7, 10 years? Second, we would have a brief discussion on the quality of grain. How does it impact the feed industry, the starch industry, the ethanol industry? And what is the optimum quality? What should be the parameters? Right now, we just check a few parameters, specifically mycotoxins, energy, grain size. But there are much more scientific methods, which I guess ICAR must be uh, studying on how to develop better quality grains that benefits. Then we would obviously have some brief discussion on scientific cultivation and sowing processes. How can correct sowing of maize result in much higher yield? We have got some research done from Poultry Federation of India on this, which I would like to share with everyone. After that, we would move to crop monitoring through latest technologies using satellite imagery, and how can that be benefited, how everyone can benefit from that, and what is the need for such crop monitoring these days. We can also discuss on yield estimation and CCE sampling, which will be a part of satellite crop monitoring because it comes under the same agenda. And we would close the presentation, we would close the lecture with the future prospects and what are the ways ahead. How can we manage, how can we sustain, and how can we improve the sowing the yield of maize so that every industry is benefited and we do not have to create a competition in India amongst different industries. We have to grow together. So that is what we will all discuss in the presentation. Manish, next slide, please. See, in poultry, we do not call maize an energy crop. Maize is primarily an energy crop. It serves as the primary energy ingredient in poultry feed, the primary energy ingredient in green energy, which is being produced in form of ethanol. It is because of the higher energy content in maize that we are able to produce ethanol. So it becomes a strategic crop for India, which is being used by various varied industries such as poultry and cattle feed, animal feed, starch, glucose, food ingredients. Obviously, human consumption is always there: sweet corn, popcorn, different processed products of corn, cornflakes. Then we have ethanol, which is a very rapidly growing field in energy sector. And then we have uses in paper and textile and pharma as well. The total national production of India in terms of maize production is 45.6 million tons. And this is a very authentic data. A lot of research has been done through different agencies which have been funded by various bodies from poultry and PFI proudly being one of them. We have got some surveys done. We have got some real statistics covered, which give us very authentic data on the actual sowing, actual harvesting, actual forecast of the total yield of maize, keeping in consideration the temperature, the climate, the irrigation, the erratic monsoon behavior. We almost have covered 13 million hectares area under maize production, the previous one only. Manish. Yeah. Right now, we are struggling on average productivity per hectare, which is almost 3 to 4 tons as per our data, which is quite low. And this is where we need to focus. It is not just about good quality seeds. It is not just about GM maize. A lot of it is about correct sowing techniques, using modern technologies, and correct harvesting and post-harvesting techniques. Manish, next slide, please. So when we study the maize value chain, the largest consumer of maize is again poultry feed, as just told by our previous speaker. In broiler diets, we use more than 50% of maize, which accounts for more than 70% of the poultry production cost. So any fluctuation in maize productivity directly affects his cost, which in turn directly affects the cost of poultry feed in India, as the 70% of cost of poultry feed is feed, out of which more than 50% is maize. So maize is one very critical cost governing factor for poultry feed. Similar is the case with dairy and cattle. We have large amount of maize used in cattle feed. Then we have starch in food. Starch and food industry requires maize which has higher amount of starch in it. So they have a very peculiar requirement which is entirely different from poultry. Poultry also needs a good starch maize because starch would directly convert into energy, but we have certain parameters on toxins. So the starch industry can leave out the toxins and everything and can consume maize, which is not of optimum quality as required in feed. And the last we have ethanol and energy, which is again, as I told earlier, is one of the largest growing, fastest growing sectors that consumes maize. So we have a saying here, every kg of maize simultaneously supports milk, meat, feed, and fuel. So maize is one such crop, the only crop that supports so many industries together. Manish, next slide, please. The beauty of India is 3 maize seasons. India is the only country in the world that can sow maize through the entire year. A Kharif, which is obviously the main season. In Rabi, we can sow and cultivate maize in the area which is irrigated through our irrigation network. And then we have Zaid, in which a lot of maize is being used as fodder. We turn maize into silage, and that is being used throughout the year. So the beauty of India is, for animal, green fodder can be produced from the specific period around March, Zaid period. We have a difference of 2 to 3 months between our Rabi and Kharif crops during that time. So we as Federation promote farmers to produce maize that is converted into silage. And silage has a very long extended shelf life, so that we have, when we have lesser amount of green fodder available for dairy, we can use the silage. So this is the beauty India has. And generally, the cultivation period, the harvesting period for maize right from sowing is 90 to 120 days, which depends on the hybrid we choose and the climate of the region we are in. So this is something that we should tap. This is the potential, the beauty of Indian subcontinent of getting maize in all 3 seasons. Mahesh, next slide, please. Now we'll just go through some market dynamics. Industry maize, how is maize used, and the market dynamics. As I told earlier, between 2021 and 2026, we have seen a 35% production in maize, which is primarily due to the increase in sown area. A little attribution is towards the production per hectare, the average production per hectare. So we have data from last 5 years in which we can clearly see 2021, we were at 34 million metric tons of maize production. And right now we are at 46 million metric tons of maize production per year. So the primary factors the primary growth drivers are the ethanol industry, poultry, feed consumption, and starch and sweeteners. So these are the ones that is driving this growth of maize. Farmers are realizing better prices. So this is something which is, farmer-centric economy, giving our farmers much better value for their produce per acre in any crop. Manish, next slide, please. These are the major areas. Bihar is not mentioned here because by the time we got our research, Bihar sowing and cultivation was not available with us. The data was not available with us. But Bihar is again one of our primary states, primary producers, and the quality of maize in Bihar is one of the best in India. So we have Karnataka, we have Madhya Pradesh. We can see the exponential rise in Madhya Pradesh. The area sown in Madhya Pradesh has exponentially risen in between 2023-24 and 25-26 from around 15 lakh hectare to almost 20 lakh hectares. Again, Maharashtra, we have seen a very good amount of rise in the sown area. Rajasthan, we have better, we have an increase in sown area. UP, again, we have an increase in sown area. Bihar also has a lot of increased sown area because of better realization of the prices of maize crop that the farmers are receiving for last 2 to 3, 4 years. So once we have the data, I would be more than happy to share this data. And UP has done exceptionally well on specifically Rabi expansion. So UP is the state that has grown grown maize in Rabi season. Manish, next slide, please. These are again the leading producing states. 45.66 million metric ton was our production in 2025-26. We have also seen one observation: the states that are using hybrids and the irrigation networks are intensive. They have better access to irrigation. The farmers have better access to canal irrigation, have higher yields. So if we are able to provide better seeds that are suited to that specific state, that specific soil, that specific climate, we can produce much more maize in the exactly same sown area. So we have Rajasthan, UP, Madhya Pradesh, Karnataka. These are the productions per year in million metric tons. Rajasthan was 2 million metric ton, UP was 3, Tamil Nadu was 3, Madhya Pradesh, Karnataka were 6 each. Manish, next slide, please. Now, as we have discussed earlier, what are the driving sectors for maize? Poultry, everyone knows. Ethanol, again, one of the largest growing sectors. We sometimes have to, as federation, we sometimes have to write letters to the government to allow ethanol industries to use rice, broken rice from their FCI stocks or sugar, because the consumption of maize sometimes goes so high in the ethanol industries that the availability of maize for poultry becomes very limited, which in turn shoots up prices for feed like anything. And since ethanol has some alternatives to make ethanol apart from maize, poultry is not left with much alternatives. We do not have other crops that are as energy dense as maize, as nutritionally suitable to poultry as maize. So there have been instances where the Federation has written to the government of India to intervene on consumption of maize into ethanol. But we as Federation always push sowing of maize. We have done trials in Haryana. We have started telling people to grow maize in Haryana. We have done trial for almost 150 acres in Haryana, where we have got a very good yields of almost 42 to 45 quintals per acre of maize in Haryana. The quality was not of poultry grade, but still we were able to manage that quality can be allocated to ethanol production, and we can have better quality maize allocated to us. So Poultry Federation of India has been pushing maize production for last 2 years now. We also have a lot of external risks, climate and geopolitical factors. Geopolitical factors like the one recently we faced, a lot of disruption in the supply chain was for fertilizers was seen, which obviously increased the input cost. And due to less availability of fertilizers, the production per hectare decreases considerably. So these are some factors that we need to consider while taking into consideration the forecasting. Climate variability that is neither under farmers' control nor under anyone's control. Next slide, Manish, please. So now we would have a shorter glimpse on the maize grain quality and the animal feed industry. Manish, next please. 66% of broilers' energy's diet comes from maize, and 66% is a very vast number. Poultry feed is almost more than 70% cost. For poultry, we need a very uniform sized of grain, dry and starch rich. If the starch content in maize drops, the energy level drops, which in turn increases the inclusion of maize. We set standards for poultry diets, pre-starter diets, starter diets, finisher diets. They have specific energy requirements which we have to provide to them. If we are unable to get good quality maize, the amount of maize included in the feed goes up. For example, just citing one small example, the figures are not realistic. It is only for purpose of explanation. If we have maize, which has an energy content of almost 3350 kilocal, and we are using 500 kg of maize in a starter or a pre-starter diet, we have a second lot of maize which is almost 3250 kcal energy. The amount of maize in feed would be higher than 500 kg to offset the lower energy into the maize. So that is how the consumption of maize would decrease, which is never considered anywhere. If we are able to produce good quality grain with higher energy content, dense energy dense maize kernel, then we are able to consume lesser amount of maize into poultry feed. So this is one thing which is always left out of sight, out of plain sight. It is always there right in front of us, but it is always missed. So the energy content of maize plays a very, very major role in terms of its consumption into poultry feed. Manish, next slide, please. These are key parameters which, as a institute that does research on maize, I would recommend them to take care of. Moisture is something which is again a post-harvest activity which is being controlled, right? Which is being controlled in the post-harvest activities done by the farmer. We prefer maize around 12% moisture content. Maize is harvested and dried by the farmer in open fields, in the open areas. Test weight. This is something where I would like ICAR to have a little more focus on, because if we are able to get a higher bulk density kernel, which has higher starch and higher energy in the entire crop, in the entire seed, in the entire hybrid, then the consumption of maize would reduce drastically. A higher bulk density means higher amount of energy into the same grain as it was there in the predecessor. If something can be done on this, I think it can create a win-win situation for the farmer and for all the industries. Instead of a competition, ample amount of maize would be available for everyone. Then second is kernel uniformity. If we have a good kernel uniformity, we have a good energy uniformity, we have a better throughput through our pellet mills, we have a better energy consistency. So these are two things that can be taken care of at research level through agencies like ICAR, which are already doing a lot of good research. We have seen a drastic change in production of maize per hectare in a few last decades, and a lot of scientists from ICAR are working wonderfully on this. We have been in touch with a few of them, and we have seen the quality of work they are doing. We are also trying to push them to start similar initiatives for soybean, for soya DOC. So maize is the role model here, which we are trying to implement for other grains that are being used in poultry, either oil seeds or energy grains. Then purity means any foreign particles, stones, cobs, soil, it lowers the value. And as a processor, I would not want these impurities to be a part of my maize lot. Again, it can be controlled in the post-harvesting activities, which is done at farm level or mandi level. Manish, next slide, please. Second most important factor for poultry is the aflatoxin, is the mycotoxin contamination. A primary discussion always surrounds aflatoxins, but as a nutritionist, we in poultry know that even if we have lower levels of aflatoxin, but if they are supported by higher levels of other toxins, the effect of that lower level of aflatoxin supersedes, and it just doubles or triples in terms of the damage done to the broilers. For example, there are a few toxins which work in synergies with each other and they amplify each other's impact on the broiler diets. So it is not just aflatoxin, it is the complete toxin profile that has to be taken care of. Manish, next slide, please. As we have discussed, storage and post-harvest management is one of the primary keys that can improve or degrade the quality of maize we get. Bringing maize to a lower content of 12 to 13% moisture is optimum for storage. We in India have a habit of storing our maize in warehouses right on the floor, but they should be stacked on pellets, giving some way for four-side ventilation. If we are able to maintain that, we are able to maintain the quality of stored maize, and the risk of getting that maize quality deteriorated decreases rapidly. We have, again, storing is one of the premium, driving factors here. We need to store in a cool, dry place. We need to block moisture. We need to prevent the maize from getting re-wetted, because wet maize produces heat, and heat attracts fungus and insects. And fungus, if it starts into maize, it starts developing into a toxin. Manish, next slide, please. So I tried to segregate different industries and their requirements. In poultry, we have just discussed the quality of maize we require. Starch, again, needs maize which has good starch, because a higher starch content in maize would result in better starch recovery and better processing yield, which in turn would again lead to lower consumption of maize in terms of tonnage. It is not actually how many tons of maize a starch plant requires. It is actually how many tons of starch does the starch plant requires. If we are able to fulfill that from 1 ton or from 1.5 ton, that depends on the quality of maize we are producing. Again, ethanol plant, they have specific requirements for maize that can produce maximum alcohol per ton. Dairy is very similar to poultry and feed. Manish, next slide, please. So what takes to produce premium quality maize? Producing a premium quality grain is not expensive. It is not based on very expensive technologies, but it is basic habits, basic corrective measures that needs to be implemented right from the time of sowing until the time of harvesting and post processing and storage. We should harvest the maize at correct maturity. As Poultry Federation of India, we are promoting these scientific techniques. I would discuss later to the farmers. We are holding sessions, we are holding seminars on what is the correct maturity time, how to dry the grain quickly, what are the most efficient methods for drying, how should we prevent re-wetting of the grains, what should be the storage structures, what should be the storage criterias, how should we try to store the maize in a warehouse. Because if we are able to produce good quality maize, we can suffice our requirement. If we try to maintain the quality of maize to higher standards, our requirements would obviously decrease in terms of tonnage. Manish, next slide, please. Now we would discuss on the scientific cultivation and sowing techniques, how small scientific fine adjustments can lead to much higher yields per hectare. Manish, next slide, please. Getting a higher yield is not just about good genetics. It is not just about good hybrids. It is not just about good techniques. Instead, the entire picture, each uh, you know, each segment plays its role. Choosing the right hybrid. Every seed is doesn't perform exactly the same in different states. A seed that is performing good in Bihar might not perform as well in Maharashtra. So we need to choose the right hybrid for that specific soil, for that specific market, for that specific temperature. We need to see the duration which matches that specific season, because we need different phases of moisture levels. We need different phases of irrigation, different amount of water requirements for different states, for different seeds. So the hybrid should be chosen in accordance to that. We might have some diseases prevalent into Bihar region which are not prevalent into Madhya Pradesh or Maharashtra or Karnataka or Tamil Nadu. There must be some other diseases, some other pests that are prevalent there. So the selection has to be according to those prevalent diseases, those prevalent standards for the last 4 5 years. Manish, next slide, please. Land preparation and seed quality. This is something that can be done at farm level. We have been trying to convey to farmers a lot. I would also request ICAR to publish a few handbooks if they can for their specific breeds on the correct sowing techniques. We recently did one example in which we roped in few seed companies. I would not like to name anyone. Uh, they held a seminar with farmers of almost 200 acres in Haryana, wherein they taught the farmers the correct sowing technique, how much depth should be followed while sowing a seed. That was again a very interesting learning chapter for me. They told me that if we are sowing it manually, we are sowing seeds at different sowing depth, someone at 1 inch, some at 2 inches, different depths. So when a seed develops into a seedling has to come up outside the ground. So the amount of seedlings that come out varies greatly when we sow by hand. Instead, they arranged a few pneumatic cultivators wherein they helped us sow a lot of fields using pneumatic cultivators. And overnight, we have seen this overnight. There was nothing, it was all brown field. And the next morning we came, it was all green. 90% of seedlings just popped out of the soil within one night. So, this is the accuracy that we have achieved in Haryana in our trial periods. Now, what is the reference point for this? Why should we do this? Why do we need such sowing? Why do we need to be so precise into delivering this sowing technique? Maize is a 90 to 120-day crop. Maize has water requirements during its phase, which we will discuss later. So, if we have the entire field at a same pace, growing at the same pace, we are able to fulfill its nutritional requirements at the same pace. We are able to fulfill, the water requirements at exactly the same time when the plant needs it. So it gives us better yield. It gives us more corns per plant. It gives us more seeds per cob of corn. So it is just that which increases the yield per hectare. So we have done such researches with farmers, we have taught farmers, and we are continuing to do so. So land preparation, sowing time, sowing technique, and the seed quality, these play a very, very vital role into the amount of maize we are going to get from that field. Next slide, please, Manish. Uh, I told you sowing window and plant population, the uniformity of space. Is it too dense or is it too sparse for the field? So we have done a lot of seminars on this with the farmers. Manish, next slide, please. We need to maintain balanced nutrition. This again comes from the seed companies on the amount of nutrition that is required and the crop and the region. it also depends a lot on the soil. Soil testing remains a critical point here. Manish, next slide, please. As I told you earlier, water management, we need water at specific times during the maize growth. We need 4 sets of water, which depends different, which affects different processes into growth of maize. So if we are able to grow our entire field exactly at the same time, we are able to provide exactly the same water and nutrient content to the entire crop, and we are able to get maximum out of the same field. Weed management, as we all know, it is very, very important. Mechanical weeding, mulching, herbicides, these are some factors that can help us maintain less number of weeds, which creates obviously less competition for nutrients in the crop. Manish, next slide, please. Managing insects and pests. These are some basic pests that we see across fields in India. So this is already being taken care of by the farmers themselves. Manish, next slide, please. Disease management and harvest. These are few diseases which can be managed. And if a farmer is proactive, I would rather say, they are able to see their plant, manage their plant in good health, which obviously improves the harvest per hectare, yield per hectare. Manish, next slide, please. So this is one thing where Poultry Federation has put in a lot of effort. We have done crop monitoring for last 1 year. We have got data, we have got estimates, we have got forecasts for the maize sown area, the yield per hectare. And this helps the entire industry forecast and plan well in advance if we are falling short of the crop, if we are having abundant crop, and how to go, how to proceed, what alternatives to take. So this is one thing. Manish, next slide, please. This is one thing which can be a focus area for all the industries if we are able to uh, pool our resources together instead of, poultry does their own research, ethanol does their own research, other sectors does their own research. If we are able to pool our resources together somehow, the impact on the yield of maize, the impact of on sowing area of maize can drastically benefit all the industries. We have had 30,000 ground truth validation points where we have validated on ground. We have monitored 3 seasons. We have covered almost 247 districts, and we have worked at village level. The agency that has worked with us, that has worked for us, has done all these research from these datas and models. We have used Sentinel, we have used Sentinel-2, Modis, Landstat, Instat imagery. We have used AI and machine learning. We have used every advanced possible technique for these forecasting and monitoring. Manish, next slide, please. So how it actually is being done is the agency, they procure raw satellite data across the season, and they have their own techniques based on artificial intelligence, based on machine learning. The data is clean, it is corrected, it passes through different quality checks, it is being vetted by their ground teams whether the data is real-time data, whether the field, the area has actually sown the crop or not. They they just they use the geospatial data before and after sowing the acreage, the previous yield trends, and that is how they are able to create a very accurate forecast. Manish, next slide, please. We have seen that the 247 districts we have covered are producing more than 95% of maize. Now we are working on how can we improve the yield per hectare into those districts. How can we, work with the farmers there, because that area is already producing a lot of maize. Even a small marginal increase in productivity of yield per hectare can have a drastic impact on the entire production of maize in the entire country. So we are very closely working with those areas. We are having conversation with a few researchers in ICAR regarding better seeds, better performances now, focusing on high yield parameters for maize and on a good quality, maintaining all the good quality parameters. Manish, next slide, please. These are the monitoring parameters. I think we can just skip this. If someone wants to go through, sowing was being uh, observed on every 10 to 15 days. Acreage is again seasonal. Every season we do the total acreage of sown area. Harvesting was observed every 30 days at a village level. These are the models that are used to estimate yield. We use semi-physical models and we train our AI models in accordance with the semi-physical models that can give us accurate results. So a lot of technology is being implemented by the federation, by the poultry industry into these models. A lot of money is being spent only for a better data that can be used to take corrective measures and corrective forecasts in the future. Because if we do not have authentic data, we cannot take a reliable decision. And if we take a decision on data which is not reliable, there is no assurance that the decision would be correct. So we are doing our bit. Manish, next slide, please. These are ground truthing and CCEs. Our teams have been working day and night. We also have geotagged photos, geotagged and time-stamped photos for the areas that are under harvesting, and our teams are working there. Manish, next slide, please. So these are the monitoring timelines for our different seasons of crops. We monitor sowing progress. We do an estimate after sowing. We do an estimate of how many acres have been used for sowing of maize. Then we do a yield estimate. Post harvest, we collect data on the exact harvest amount, and we compare it with our yield estimate and see where are we standing and what are the reasons if there is an offset. If we had anticipated 55 million metric tons, but we get 46.5 million metric tons, we try to judge, was it some error on our part, or it was some climatic change, or it was something that can be improved at the farmer level that can take up the production, the total production, annual production of maize from 46.5 million metric tons to 55 million metric tons. So this is all for that purpose. Manish, next slide, please. The future prospects. We expect in next decade, maize will be one crop that every farmer would look forward to, because it is going to be one of the most strategic crops, one of the most strategic commodities in India. And this is being driven by the energy policy, the technology, and the demand. Poultry, again, in itself is growing by a growth rate of almost 8 to 10% of CAGR. We have seen ethanol growing to the tunes of 100% annually. Year-on-year growth in ethanol industry has been 100%. We had initially a target of E10. Now we have a target of E20. And once we are able to attain E20, we are very certain that the government of India would increase the target to E25, E30 if the technology for engines permit. Manish, next slide, please. We have already seen the demand outlook into poultry, dairy, and ethanol. We have discussed that primarily. Manish, next slide, please. Now, what has been changing? We are using intelligence, we are using technology, we are using GPS machinery, we are using modern scientific technologies for sowing that is improving the yield per hectare. We are having, we are trying to maintain a regular campaign with the farmers to sow better maize, to grow better maize, and to follow the right good practices, good sowing practices, good harvesting practices, good post-harvesting practices. We are working with different agencies. We are working with different seed companies for better climate resilient hybrids, uh, for seeds that are more drought resistant, that requires lesser resources for exactly the same amount of yield for the specific acre or specific hectare. Manish, next slide, please. We are also anticipating some specialty maize in future, for example, sweet corn, baby corn. Haryana, if we speak about Haryana and Western UP belt, the Delhi NCR region, we specifically have observed a trend of a lot of maize cultivation specifically for baby corn, because Delhi NCR has a lot of demand for baby corn, and that demand is being met locally. So we have these local patches around metro cities which are gradually shifting towards these specialty maize products. Baby corn, high oil maize is something which we anticipate would be another, industry that would require maize very soon. Manish, next slide, please. So I would like to convene here. I would like to wrap up here. We totally say, if a farmer wants to grow and wants to support his family, he should switch to maize, because maize is one crop which is the crop of the decade for India. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rahulji, for especially highlighting the various issues and the things you have uptaken for the strengthening the maize ecosystems from production to consumption in India. Thank you so much. We were very delighted to see all of the your efforts you made in the maize mapping and forecasting of the production and other things. Really a great effort from Poultry Federation of India. Congratulations from IMR side. So now I request questions from the stakeholders, all the participants. There is question in the chat box also. I will be just reading it. Anyone, if you have any question, you can raise your hand, or you can then we can ask the question. So in the chat box it is there. How do PFI help and support farmers in getting price for their produce that's maize? Share your contact details on this anyway. So his contact detail is there on Poultry Federation of India. But anyway, how you are helping the farmers to getting their price of maize? Is there any
Uh,
effort from PFI?
Sir, the ecosystem for the all the agriculture produced in India is through the APMC markets. We also have to buy from APMC markets. Unfortunately, the ecosystem in India is such that as a direct consumer, we cannot buy directly from the farmers. We are in talks with the government. We have recently made a representation to the government of Haryana, wherein the APMC is charging us the APMC fee for the maize that we are getting from different states that already pay APMC or have no APMC. For example, Bihar doesn't have any Mandi Samiti fee, but Haryana levies a Mandi Samiti fee. So we have made representation to the government of Haryana to remove that Mandi Samiti fee. And if we are able to remove the Mandi Samiti from Haryana, that can create one, that can be a role model for other states to follow. So we are working on these small challenges that are hurdles to us as an industry, but procuring maize directly from farmers as an industry is something that is not supported by the government right now, and we expect, if there are any changes in the APMC Act in near future, so we would love to have our say as the industry into the act. Dr. Sir, you are
Thank
on
you.
mute.
Yeah, thank you. On in this direction also, we are also, talking about the various platforms, and efforts are being made that industry should be made as a mandi gate. Okay. And even if, because, some 50% of the feed ingredient is coming from maize, so you can pay, directly, as a mandi price, even if it is required. based on your own annual production, you can get the aggregated mandi prices and give it to the government. There is no issue. Anyway, so one more question is there. Is AI, machine learning, precision feeding, and automation continue to advance? How do you see these technologies transforming both commercial poultry farming and maize production in India over the next decade? So, what
Okay.
role you are expecting both all these technologies in the poultry and maize?
If we speak about commercial poultry farming, we are already using a lot of technology into commercial poultry farming, and the level of technology we are using is massive. We have an, automated systems for climate control. We have automated systems for live live weight of bird. We have real-time weighing sensors in the poultry houses, on which a bird hops in. We catch its weight, we put it to our system, we analyze the amount of growth the bird has taken and the number of days, the age of bird in the number of days. So we are able to make some real-time decisions on how our bird is performing. If the bird is lagging behind as per its standard weight, we are able to proactively work on the bird's health, improve the bird's health before any outbreak or any such major distress that the bird faces if that is left unattended. So a lot of technology, a lot of AI is already being used. A lot of we have, as Dr. Jat correctly mentioned, we are holding a trade show with Select India in partnership with VNU. For the next event, for the next edition, which is supposed to be held in April 22-23 April in Delhi at Yashobhumi, we are trying to get a few exhibitors that bring in AI technologies, AI-based cameras that can judge a bird's health only by clicking photographs and using AI as back of house process, and they can tell you whether the bird is sick. They monitor their movements, they monitor their feed intake, they monitor their water intake. If it is in accordance with the standards, we are good to go. If it is lower than the standards, it creates an alarm. Uh, it sends a message to us, and we are able to proactively manage what effects is the bird facing. Is it due to heat stress? Is it due to some disease stress? Or what has been happening? And Tushar, as I mentioned in my presentation earlier, maize production is something which is, if tackled scientifically, can do wonders for India. And we are in process of educating farmers for that. We have a very big farmer, again, here in Haryana and Punjab, and he sows maize in hundreds of acres. And his primary objective is is maize for fodder. He creates silage. So we have held various sessions with him and his farmers on the correct sowing techniques, and he has seen results on that. Additionally, once we have bigger budgets, once we have better resources to spend on, we can obviously work on AI. We can obviously work on satellite imagery to improve the yields per hectare across India.
Okay, good. Thank you. This technology, as all you must agree, that it has a great role to play, especially improving productivity, quality across the ecosystem, whether it's the poultry ecosystem or maize ecosystem. As we know, the nobody want to do any kind of the physical work, and many times it's become difficult to monitor because these are the very live things where we have seen very less time you have the production pipeline and it get affected, then it's going to be very much stress on the financial health of the industry. So we also envisage there will be a great role of these technologies. So any other questions we have from the audience, or we can wind up the session? I think there is no questions. So Rahulji, thank you so much for coming and addressing all these participants. So we are having around 75 now, right? So it reached around 100 plus sometime. So anyway, thank you so much for making a great presentation and opening up the new ideas where your organization is making efforts for making our production ecosystem so positive. So Makka or Mudi, they must grow together. That kind of the problem we have. So we'll be grateful to you for your presentation. Now we are closing this session. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Jat. Have a good day.
Thank you. Thank you so much.